The galaxy was old, very old, and the beings who ruled it believed they knew everything about it. The Galactic Concord had existed for 12,000 years. It was a government of ancient species who had mapped every star, named every planet, and decided long ago that they were the masters of all creation. They kept peace through control, they kept order through fear, and they kept power by destroying anyone who might challenge them. At the edge of their great map, far from the bright center of civilization, there was a region they called Sector 7G Null. The old surveys said it was empty. The ancient records said it was full of radiation and dead worlds. No one went there. No one cared about it. The Concord was wrong. Deep in that forgotten sector, on a world called Bastion Prime, humanity lived in secret. 900 million humans called this place home. They had cities beneath the ground and stations hidden in asteroid fields. They had farms that grew food in artificial light and factories that built ships in silence. Commander Lyra Vasquez stood at the window of the Central Command building. She was a tall woman with gray in her dark hair and lines on her face that told of many hard years. Outside the window, the underground city stretched for miles. Lights glowed in towers. People walked on streets. Children played in parks built under a false sky. It looked peaceful, but Lyra knew the truth. They were survivors hiding from hunters, and hunters never stopped looking. 300 years ago, humanity had been a rising power. They had ships and colonies and dreams of reaching every corner of the galaxy. But the Concord saw them as a threat. Humans were too creative, too unpredictable, too dangerous. So the Concord decided to remove them. They called it the Purge Wars. The elder species sent their fleets to human worlds. They burned cities. They destroyed stations. They killed billions. The official record said humanity was extinct. The Concord celebrated their victory and moved on to other matters. But some humans escaped. They fled to the one place no one would look. They hid in the radiation and the darkness at the edge of the map. And they survived. Lyra turned from the window as the door opened. A young officer walked in quickly. His face was pale with worry. "Commander, we have a problem." She felt cold fear in her chest but kept her voice calm. "Tell me." A Concord scout ship just entered the system. It came out of hyperspace near the outer planets. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. They had always known this day might come. They had prepared for it. But preparation and reality were different things. "Has it detected us?" "We do not know yet. But Commander, it is scanning everything. If it finds our energy signatures, then our secret dies today." Lyra walked to the command console. "Activate defense grid. Prepare all weapon platforms, and get me Director Chen." On the Concord scout ship, Captain Sorum Keth of the Velthari species stared at his sensor displays. The Velthari were elegant beings with silver skin and large dark eyes. They were scientists and explorers. They did not usually feel fear, but Soram felt fear now. His sensors were showing him something impossible. There were structures on the fourth planet. Large structures, cities, and the energy readings matched a species that should not exist. "This cannot be correct," he whispered to himself. He ran the scan again. The results were the same. Humans, living humans, hundreds of millions of them. Sorum's hands shook as he opened a communication channel to Concord High Command. This was the most important message he would ever send. The beings they had destroyed 200 years ago were still alive. They had been hiding all this time, growing stronger in the darkness. "Priority alert to all Concord authorities. I have discovered a human colony in Sector 7G Null. Population estimated at several hundred million. They have ships and weapons and technology. Requesting immediate military response. The humans are alive. I repeat, the humans are alive." He sent the message. It would take only seconds to reach the nearest relay station. From there, it would spread across the galaxy at faster than light speed. On Bastion Prime, the defense systems detected the transmission. Lyra watched the data scroll across her screen. He sent a message. Director Marcus Chen stood beside her. He was an older man with white hair and kind eyes that had seen too much death. "Then they know. The whole Concord will know within hours. Can we stop the message?" "No, it is already gone." Chen looked at the scout ship on the display. It was small, One ship with one crew. It had just ended 3 centuries of safety. Lyra gave the order. Destroy it. The defense grid activated. Weapons hidden on moons and asteroids came to life. Beams of energy crossed the darkness of space and struck the scout ship. It exploded in a flash of light. Captain Sorum Keith died instantly. He never knew what hit him, but his message survived. Lyra sat down heavily in her chair. Around her, officers worked at their stations. Alarms blinked. Communications channels filled with worried voices. The whole planet was waking up to a nightmare. How long do we have? She asked. Chen did the calculation in his head. The message reaches Concord High Command in 6 hours. They will need time to verify it, to argue about what to do. Then they will assemble a fleet. I would estimate 3 weeks before they arrive. 3 weeks to prepare for a war against the entire galaxy. Yes. Lyra looked at the old man. Can we win? Chen was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was strange. That depends on what you mean by winning, Commander. We cannot defeat them in a normal war. They have thousands of ships and trillions of soldiers. We have a few hundred ships and less than 1 billion people. Then we will die. Perhaps. Perhaps not. Chen smiled, but it was not a happy smile. There is something I need to show you. Something we have kept secret even from most of our own people. Come to the archive with me. Lyra followed him out of the command center. She did not know what the archive contained, but she could see something in Chen's eyes. It was not hope exactly. It was something darker. The Concord thought they knew everything about the galaxy. They thought they had mapped every danger and controlled every threat. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Far across the galaxy, in the heart of Concord space, a massive fleet was gathering. 2,000 warships hung in the darkness near a military station. Their hulls were dark metal. Their weapons were the most powerful the galaxy had ever built. And their mission was simple: kill every human being alive. High Admiral Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Kreth dreadnought called Inevitable Victory. He was a Kreth, a species of hunters. They had evolved from pack predators on a harsh world. They were big and strong and covered in thick scales. Their teeth were sharp. Their eyes were cold. Torvax had fought many wars. He had destroyed rebellions and crushed resistance movements. He did not feel guilt about killing. It was simply what he did. The fleet is ready, High Admiral, his second-in-command reported. Good. We jump to Sector 7G Null in 6 hours. Tell the captains that there will be no prisoners. No negotiations. We finish what our ancestors started. The Concord had decided quickly. The human survival was a threat to everything they had built. If one dead species could hide for 3 centuries, others might try the same. The example had to be clear. The Concord does not fail. The Concord does not forget. And the Concord does not forgive. On Bastion Prime, Commander Lyra Vasquez followed Director Chen through underground tunnels. They went deeper than she had ever been before. The walls changed from metal to stone to something older. Finally, they reached a massive door. This is the archive, Chen said. Only 12 people know it exists. Now you are the 13th. The door opened. Inside was a vast room filled with machines and screens and devices that Lyra did not recognize. Scientists worked at stations, studying data and running experiments. At the center of the room was a black sphere that seemed to eat the light around it. What is this place? Lyra asked. This is where we keep the forbidden knowledge. Chen walked among the machines with his hands behind his back. You know that the Concord bans certain types of research, certain technologies. They say it is for safety, for the good of all species. Yes, they are lying. Chen stopped and turned to face her. They ban these technologies because they cannot control them. The elder species tried to develop these weapons thousands of years ago. They failed. The equations were too complex. The energy requirements were too extreme. Many of their scientists went mad just trying to understand the basic principles. Lyra looked at the black sphere. It made her feel strange, like reality itself was bending around it. But humans are different, Chen continued. Our brains work differently. We see patterns that others cannot see. We make connections that others cannot make. What drove the elder species to madness, we can understand. What they could never build, we have built. Weapons? Yes. 17 different weapon systems, each one capable of destroying entire fleets, entire worlds, entire species. Chen's voice was quiet. The Concord was right to fear us, Lyra. They were just wrong about how to handle that fear. He showed her around the archive. He explained each weapon in simple terms. Singularity cores that created tiny black holes. Dimensional shears that cut through the fabric of space itself. Entropy accelerators that made time move faster, aging ships into dust in seconds. Lyra felt sick. This is horrible. Yes, it is. Chen did not argue. Our ancestors who first developed these things did not do so with joy. They did it out of desperation. They were being hunted to extinction. They needed something to fight back with, something that would make the hunters afraid. And you kept this secret all these years? We hoped we would never need it. We hoped we could hide forever. But hiding is no longer possible. Chen led her to a screen that showed the enemy fleet gathering. 2,000 ships, the largest force the Concord has assembled in 3,000 years. They are coming to finish the extinction they started. Lyra stared at the screen. 2,000 ships, and humanity had perhaps 300 ships that could fight. The math was simple and terrible. What do you want from me, she asked. The Council of Remnants is meeting in 1 hour. They will debate what to do, run or hide or beg for mercy. None of those options will work. The Conquered does not want peace. They want us dead. Chen put his hand on her shoulder. I want you to help me convince them to fight, to use what we have built, to remind the galaxy why they tried so hard to kill us in the first place. The Council of Remnants met in a great hall. There were 20 members, representing all the surviving human groups. They argued for hours. Some wanted to flee to even darker parts of space. Some wanted to send messages begging for peace. Some simply wanted to pray. Lyra listened to them all, then she stood up to speak. I have seen the archive, she said. The room went silent. I know what we have. I know what we can do. And I know that running and begging will not save us. The Conquered does not hate us because of what we did. They hate us because of what we are. They will never stop hunting us. Never. She looked at each council member in turn. We have 3 choices. We can die running, we can die begging, or we can stand and fight and maybe, just maybe, we can make them understand that the cost of killing us is too high. Director Chen stood beside her. Our ancestors preserved these weapons for a reason. They suffered and sacrificed so that one day, if we needed them, we would have them. That day has come. We can honor their sacrifice, or we can let it mean nothing. The debate continued, but slowly the mood in the room changed. Fear became anger. Despair became determination. When the vote came, it was not even close. Humanity would fight. In the archive, scientists began activating systems that had slept for generations. In the shipyards, engineers worked without rest to install weapons that had never been tested in battle. On every ship and station, humans prepared for the hardest fight of their existence. They knew they might not win. They knew they might all die. But they also knew something else. The Conquered had made a mistake 300 years ago. They had tried to kill humans and failed. Now they would learn what happens when you try to destroy something that refuses to die. The hunters were coming, but the prey had teeth. The Concord fleet entered Sector 7G Null like a wave of darkness. 2,000 ships spread across the void, their weapons powered and ready. High Admiral Torvac stood on his bridge and watched the empty space ahead. Somewhere out there, the humans were hiding. Soon they would be dead. Scan the system, he ordered. Find their world. His officers worked their stations. Data filled the screens. And then one of them spoke with confusion in his voice. Admiral, there is a ship directly ahead. A single ship. It is broadcasting on all frequencies. Torvax leaned forward. Show me. The main screen changed to show a small vessel. It was a human frigate, tiny compared to the Kreth warships. It hung in space alone, making no attempt to hide or run. They are sending a message, Admiral. Play it. A voice filled the bridge. It was calm and clear. A woman's voice. This is Captain Yuki Tanaka of the human remnant vessel Prometheus. You have entered sovereign human space. You will withdraw immediately. There will be no second warning." Torvax laughed. The sound was harsh and cold. Around him, his officers joined in the laughter. "One ship," Torvax said. "They send one ship to face 2,000. The humans have lost their minds." He opened a channel to respond. "Human vessel, this is High Admiral Torvax of the Kreth Dominion. Your species was sentenced to extinction 200 years ago. We are here to carry out that sentence. Surrender and die quickly, or resist and die slowly. Those are your only choices." The reply came immediately. "You did not listen, Admiral. I said there will be no second warning. You have 90 seconds to begin your withdrawal." Torvax ended the communication. "Destroy that ship. I want the rest of the fleet to see what happens to human arrogance." 50 Kreth warships moved forward. They were destroyers, each one capable of burning cities. They aimed their weapons at the little frigate and fired. The space between them filled with deadly energy. Beams of light and bursts of plasma crossed the distance in less than a second. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. None of it reached the Prometheus. Torvax watched in confusion as the attack bent away from the human ship. The beams curved around it like water flowing around a stone. The plasma burst vanished into nothing. The frigate sat untouched. "What happened?" he demanded. "Why is it still there?" His weapons officer shook his head. "I do not understand, Admiral. The shots hit something, some kind of field. It redirected everything into... I do not know where. The energy just disappeared." On the Prometheus, Captain Yuki Tanaka watched her displays. The dimensional anchor was working perfectly. It bent space around her ship, sending any attack into the gap between dimensions. No weapon could touch her. She had hoped the demonstration would be enough. She had hoped the Kreth would see reason. But she could see the fleet regrouping, preparing for a larger attack. They had not learned. "They never learn," she said quietly. She pressed a button on her console. Activating secondary system. Target, lead destroyer of the attack group. Deep in the Prometheus, a weapon woke up. It was called a causal eliminator. The scientists who built it had nightmares about what it could do. It did not destroy matter or energy. It removed the target from reality itself. It made the universe forget that the target ever existed. Tanaka watched the lead destroyer on her screen. It was a big ship, 2 kilometers long, with 3,000 Kreth crew members. In a moment, they would all be gone. She felt no joy, only sorrow. Fire. The Kreth destroyer Bone Crusher existed, and then it did not. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no debris. The ship simply vanished. One moment it was there, and the next moment there was empty space. The universe itself seemed to shiver. On the inevitable victory, alarm sirens screamed. Officers shouted in confusion and fear. "What happened to the Bone Crusher?" "It is gone, Admiral. It is just gone." "Gone where? Where did it go?" "Nowhere. It does not exist anymore. The ship, the crew, everything. The sensors cannot even find remains." Torvax stared at the empty space where a 2-kilometer dreadnought had been. His scales had gone pale. His hands gripped the arms of his chair until the metal bent. Captain Tanaka's voice came over the communication system again. "That was a warning shot, Admiral. The next one removes your entire fleet from existence. I do not want to do that. I am asking you, please, turn around and leave. Go home to your families. Tell your Concord that we do not want war, but we will not accept extinction." Torvax said nothing. For the first time in his long career, he did not know what to do. He had seen weapons that destroyed ships. He had seen weapons that burned worlds. But he had never seen anything like this. His second-in-command spoke quietly. "Admiral, if they have more weapons like that..." "I know. We cannot fight something we do not understand." Torvax looked around his bridge. He saw fear in the eyes of his crew, not the fear of battle which every warrior knew. This was something else. This was the fear of the unknown, the fear of something that should not exist. "All ships, fall back to the system boundary," he ordered. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "We regroup and report to Concord High Command." The Kreth fleet, the greatest military force in 3,000 years, retreated. They had not fired a single effective shot. They had lost one ship to a weapon they could not understand, and they fled from a single frigate. Captain Tanaka watched them go. She let out a long breath and leaned back in her chair. Her hands were shaking. "Did they leave?" her first officer asked. "For now, they will be back, probably with more ships and more determination." She looked at him with tired eyes. "We just showed them we are dangerous. Now they will never stop until they figure out how to kill us." "Then what was the point?" Tanaka smiled sadly. "To buy time, to make them think, and to show the galaxy that humans are not prey anymore." She stood up. "Send a message to Bastion Prime. Tell them the first phase is complete. Now we see what the Concorde does next." Far away, the Kreth fleet raced toward the nearest communication relay. They carried a message that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Concorde. The humans had weapons from nightmares. The dead had risen, and they had learned to kill in ways the galaxy had never seen. The hunting was over. Now something else was beginning. The Conquered Council met on their capital world, a planet called Harmony, at the center of known space. The Great Chamber was full. Representatives from 47 elder species sat in their assigned places. They had ruled the galaxy together for thousands of years. They had faced many threats, but they had never faced anything like this. On the massive screen above them, the video played again and again. A Kreth destroyer, 2 kilometers long, simply vanishing. No explosion, no warning, just existence and then emptiness. The Velthari representative spoke first. He was old even for his long-lived species, and his silver skin was almost gray with age. "This cannot be allowed. The humans must be destroyed before they can spread, before they can share this technology with others. We must send every ship we have." The Kreth representative, a general named Vorath, stood up angrily. "We sent 2,000 ships. They retreated from 1 frigate. How many ships do you think will be enough? Then we use planet killers. We burn their world from orbit. No landing, no invasion, just extinction. And if they can stop planet killers the same way they stopped our weapons?" The chamber erupted in argument. Fear made the elder species loud and desperate. They shouted at each other, blamed each other, demanded action without knowing what action to take. The Etherian representative did not shout. The Etherians were the oldest species, ancient beings of light who existed partly in dimensions that other species could not see. When she spoke, her voice was like music. "You are all fools," she said calmly. The chamber went quiet. No one called the Etherians fools. The weapons signatures we saw match records from the Sundering. 10,000 years ago, a war destroyed the previous galactic order. The technologies used were so terrible that all survivors agreed to forget them, to bury the knowledge forever. "We know the stories," Vorath growled. "They are not stories. They are history. And somehow the humans have discovered what we tried to hide." The Etherians' forms shimmered with colors that had no names. "We cannot defeat them with force. They hold the knowledge that ended the last empire. If we push them too far, they could end this one too." Before the argument could continue, alarms sounded throughout the chamber. A new signal was being received on every Concorde frequency. Every world, every station, every ship in the galaxy was receiving the same message. Director Marcus Chen appeared on the screen. He was an old human with white hair and kind eyes. He did not look like a monster. He did not look like a threat to galactic civilization. He looked like a grandfather. "Greetings to the Galactic Concorde," he said. "I am Director Chen of the Human Remnant. I speak for the survivors of your Purge Wars, the people you tried to murder and failed to kill." The council watched in silence. "You are afraid of us now? Good. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. But I want you to understand something. We do not want war. We never wanted war. 300 years ago, we were a young species with dreams of exploration and cooperation. You answered those dreams with fire and death." Chen's expression grew sad. "We fled to the darkest corner of the galaxy. We hid like animals. And in our hiding, we did the one thing you never expected. We studied. We learned. We mastered the sciences that your ancestors banned out of fear. Now we hold power that could break your civilization like glass." He held up his hands, showing they were empty. "But we are not you. We do not wish to destroy. We wish to live, to build, to join the galactic community as equals. We offer you two things today, a warning and a gift. The screen split to show technical diagrams. The warning is simple. We have 17 different weapon systems capable of extinction-level destruction. If you attack us again, we will use them. We will have no choice. You will force us to become the monsters you always believed we were. The diagrams change to show something else. Genetic sequences and medical data. The gift is for the Veltari people. We know about the plague, the genetic disease that has slowly killed your species for 500 years. Your doctors cannot cure it. They have tried everything, but we have solved it. The cure is complete. It works. We tested it ourselves. In the council chamber, the Velthari representative stared at the screen. His eyes were wide. His hands trembled. The plague had killed half his family. His daughter was dying from it right now. "Why?" he whispered. "Why would you give us this?" Chen seemed to hear him somehow. "Because we are not monsters," he answered. "Because we want you to understand what we could be if you let us. Not enemies, not threats, partners. We have knowledge that could help every species in the galaxy. Cures for diseases, solutions for problems you have struggled with for millennia. All we ask in return is simple." His voice hardened. "Stop trying to kill us. Give us a place at your table. Recognize our right to exist. We will share our knowledge freely with those who treat us as equals. We will share only death with those who treat us as prey." The message ended. The council sat in stunned silence. Then everyone began talking at once. The Velthari representative was already calling his doctors, demanding they analyze the genetic data. The Etherians were discussing among themselves in frequencies no one else could hear. Smaller species, young species who had long been bullied by the elder powers, were whispering about alliance and opportunity. General Vorath of the Kreth stood up and roared for silence. "This is a trick. The humans are manipulating us. They show us a gift to weaken our resolve, and then they will attack. We must strike now, before they grow stronger." The Etherian representative replied gently. "The humans could have destroyed the fleet that came for them. They chose not to. They sent a message of peace instead of war. Perhaps it is time to consider that we were wrong about them. They are dangerous. Yes, they are. So are we. So is every species in this chamber." Her light flickered with what might have been amusement. "The question is not whether the humans are dangerous. The question is whether they are evil. And so far they have shown more mercy than we showed them." Vorath slammed his fist on the table. "Mercy is weakness. The Kreth Dominion will not beg for peace from prey species. If the Concord will not act, we will act alone." He stormed out of the chamber. His officers followed him. The council tried to continue debate, but the unity was broken. The Concord, which had held together for 12,000 years, was starting to crack. Fear and hope and anger mixed together like poison. On Bastion Prime, Commander Vasquez watched the reports come in. "The Kreth are gathering more ships," she said. "They are coming back, without Concord approval." Director Chen nodded. "We expected this. The Kreth cannot accept what happened. Their pride will not allow it." "How many ships?" "Our scouts report 8,000. Every warship they have." Vasquez felt cold. 8,000 ships. The entire Kreth military, coming to prove that they were still hunters, that humans were still prey. "Can we stop them?" Chen was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with sorrow. "There is one more weapon, one we have never tested, one that even I am afraid of." He looked at her with old, tired eyes. "If we use it, we might save ourselves, or we might destroy everything. Not just the Kreth, not just the Concord, everything." Vasquez understood. The final weapon, the one they built but hoped to never need. "Let us pray it does not come to that," she said. But in her heart she knew it might. The Kreth were coming, and this time they would not turn back. The Kreth fleet came like a tide of metal and fire. 8,000 warships filled the space around the human system. They blocked out the stars. They were the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years, and they had come for one purpose, to prove that the Kreth were still the greatest hunters in the galaxy. High Admiral Torvax stood on his bridge, his scales flushed with battle fever. He had brought every ship, every soldier, every weapon his species possessed. This time there would be no retreat. This time the humans would learn what it meant to challenge the Kreth dominion. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "All ships advance. Overwhelm their defenses with numbers. Accept losses. We win through sacrifice." The fleet surged forward. On Bastion Prime, Commander Lyra Vasquez watched the enemy approach. The defense platforms activated, and human ships rose to meet the attack. The battle began with thunder and light. Human weapons were powerful. Each shot from their ships destroyed a Kreth vessel. Defense platforms tore holes in the enemy formation. In the first hour of battle, 1,000 Kreth ships became dust. But there were always more. For every ship destroyed, 10 took its place. The Kreth pressed forward with mindless determination, trading lives for distance. Slowly they pushed through the outer defenses. Slowly they got closer to Bastion Prime. Vasquez watched her ships die one by one. Each ship had a crew. Each crew member had a family, and she was sending them to their deaths. "The outer platforms are falling," her tactical officer reported. "The Kreth will reach weapons range of the planet in 3 hours. Evacuate civilians to the deep shelters." "Already done, Commander." Vasquez turned to Director Chen, who stood beside her in the command center. His face was calm, but his eyes were full of pain. "How long can we hold?" she asked. "Perhaps 6 hours, maybe 8 if our ships perform miracles. After that," he did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. "After that, the Kreth would reach the surface. They would burn the cities. They would hunt the shelters. They would finish what their ancestors started." Chen reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. It was silver and smooth like a river stone. There were no buttons on it, no displays. It looked simple. It was not. "The Prometheus key," he said. "The activation device for the Axiom Unraveler." Vasquez stared at it. "Tell me again what it does." "It does not destroy matter or energy. It destroys information. The basic data that tells the universe what something is, where it is, that it exists at all." Chen's voice was soft. "When activated, it makes the target become undefined. Reality simply forgets them. And the danger? We do not know if it will stop. The calculations suggest it might cascade. It might spread beyond the target. It might unravel everything in the universe." Chen placed the key on the console in front of her. "I am giving this to you, Commander. The decision is yours." Vasquez looked at the key. Such a small thing. Such terrible power. She could save her people with it. Or she could end everything that ever existed. The battle raged on. Hours passed. The Kreth kept coming. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but there were too many enemies. One by one, the defenders fell. Finally, the moment came. The Kreth reached weapons range of Bastion Prime. Their massive dreadnoughts began charging their main guns. In minutes, they would fire. The bombardment would last for hours. When it ended, nothing would remain. Torvax watched from his bridge with satisfaction. Victory was close. The humans had fought well, better than he expected. But in the end, numbers always won. In the end, the hunters always caught their prey. On the surface, Vasquez stood with the key in her hand. Her officers watched her with terrified eyes. They knew what it was. They knew what she might do. "Commander," one of them said, "we are out of options. If you do not use it, we all die. And if I do use it, everyone might die." Vasquez looked at the key. She thought about her children in the shelters below. She thought about every human being who had survived the Purge Wars. She thought about the billions of innocent people across the galaxy who had done nothing wrong. She made her decision. She put the key down. "Open a channel to the Kreth flagship," she ordered. "All frequencies. Make sure everyone hears this." Her officers obeyed. The channel opened. Her voice went out to every ship in both fleets, to every world watching the battle. "Hi, Admiral Torvax. This is Commander Vasquez of the Human Remnant. I am about to send you something. Please look at it carefully." She transmitted the complete technical plans for the Axiom Unraveler. Every diagram, every equation, every instruction needed to build the weapon that could end reality itself. Torvax stared at his screen. He understood what he was seeing. His blood went cold. Vasquez continued speaking. "This is what I hold in my hand. The power to end you, to end everything. Your ships, your worlds, your entire species. I could use it right now. You could not stop me. In 10 seconds, the Kreth Dominion would cease to exist. It would be as if you were never born. Silence filled both fleets. Every captain, every soldier, every officer listened. But I am not going to use it. I am showing it to you instead. I am trusting you with the knowledge that could destroy you. Do you understand what that means? Torvax understood. The humans had the ultimate weapon. They could rule the galaxy through terror. Every species would obey them out of fear. But instead of using their power, they were giving it away. They were making themselves vulnerable. We are not monsters, Vasquez said. We are survivors. Your ancestors tried to kill us for being different, for being creative, for being dangerous. And yes, we are dangerous. We are the most dangerous species you have ever encountered. But dangerous does not mean evil. Powerful does not mean cruel. She paused. When she spoke again, her voice was tired but gentle. I am giving you a choice, Admiral. The same choice you never gave us. You can continue this attack. Maybe you will kill us all. Maybe the dying will spread the Unraveler plans to every corner of the galaxy, and soon everyone will have this weapon, and civilization will end in fire. Or you can stop. You can go home. You can tell your people what we are. What are you? Torvax asked. His voice was rough. We are the species that could have destroyed everything and chose not to. We are the prey that became stronger than the hunters and still offered peace. We are the example of what your galaxy could be if you stopped treating difference as a threat. Vasquez looked up at the sky, where death waited in the form of 8,000 warships. I do not know if you will accept what I am offering. Maybe you are too proud. Maybe you are too afraid. Maybe you will fire your weapons and kill us all, and then spend the rest of time wondering if you made a mistake. But I am giving you the chance. That is more than you ever gave us. She fell silent. The channel remained open. Every being in the system waited. On the inevitable victory, Torvax stood frozen. His hand was near the command to fire. One order, and the humans would die. One order, and he would prove that the Kreth were still supreme. But he looked at the plans on his screen. He looked at the weapon that the humans had built but refused to use. He thought about what it meant to have such power and choose mercy. In all his years of hunting, he had never met a prey species that spared the hunter. His hand moved away from the fire command. All ships, he said quietly. We are returning home. His officers stared at him in shock, but no one argued. They had all heard the human commander. They had all seen the plans. They understood what had been offered. The Kreth fleet turned. 8,000 ships that had come to destroy instead left in silence. They carried with them a truth that would change everything. Humanity was dangerous, more dangerous than anyone had ever believed. But they were also something else, something the galaxy had not seen in a very long time. They were merciful. 1 year later, the Galactic Assembly met for the first time. It replaced the old Concord with something new, something fairer. At the Great Table sat representatives of 100 species, including humans. The forbidden sciences remained forbidden, but humanity served as their keepers, not because they were harmless, but because they had proven they could be trusted. Commander Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the new diplomatic station, watching ships from dozens of worlds dock peacefully. Director Chen stood beside her. Do you think it will last? He asked. No, she admitted. Nothing lasts forever. But we bought time, we bought peace, and we proved something important. What is that? Vasquez smiled. That the most dangerous thing in the universe is not a weapon. It is a species that could destroy everything and decides not to. They will never stop being afraid of us, but now they will also respect us. And maybe someday they will even trust us. Chen nodded slowly. A good start. Yes. She watched the stars shine on, endless and eternal. A good start. The humans had emerged from the shadows at last. They had come not as conquerors or destroyers, but as something far more frightening to the old order. They had come as equals, and the galaxy would never be the same.